In this lesson, I'll be showing you how to interpret a function. So let's get started. Here we have an xy coordinate plane, and here on this horizontal axis, this one we call x, and on your vertical, this one we call y, and then we usually have a graph with a bunch of lines or a connected picture. So if you want to get a point, let's say we want to get the coordinates of this point, we have to first get the x value and then we have to get the y value. For example, here we see that our x value is 25 and then our y value is 1. If we want to record the coordinate, we would say the point here is going to be 25, 1. Your x value goes first, followed by your y value. Let's apply this to our class. So here, example 1. My friends and I decide to go hike Cowles Mountain. We record how long it took us to reach the top and how many miles we traveled. We stopped after 10 minutes to rest as well as to sightsee. Then we kept on moving at a slower pace and we reached the top and rested for 5 minutes. Now, using the information as well as the graph, we're going to make sense out of it in order to answer questions A through E. For part A, we have to name the axis that is measuring miles. So here we have minutes, and then here we have miles. Remember the horizontal axis, that one we call X. The vertical we call Y. Y. So the axis that is measuring miles is this one. That's the vertical axis. So this is the y-axis. This one's the x-axis. So here we're going to say y-axis. Now we have to answer which axis is measuring minutes. Well, minutes, that's this horizontal axis. This is x. Now for part C, what does the labeled point 10-1 mean in the context of the story? What is happening? So 10-1 is right here. Let's zoom in a little bit in the graph. The point 10-1 is giving us the information of minutes and miles. So here we can say that after 10 minutes, we were able to travel 1 mile. Now, in order to answer what is happening, what's happening here is that based on the context, here's where we first stopped. So we stopped here for 10 minutes before we started to strive towards the top of the mountain. And here's the answer for part C. It means that after 10 minutes, we traveled 1 mile. As for what was happening, this is when we started our 10-minute break, when we began to sightsee. Alright, let's do part E now. What is the labeled point 25-1 mean in the context of the story? So now 25-1, you can see that here we still have only traveled a distance of 1 mile because we were at rest. However, at this point, this is where the break ended. This is where we finished our 10-minute break before we started to keep on climbing up. And here's my interpretation that marks the end of the 10-minute break. Okay. Let's try one more example. And now here we're gonna look at cab drivers. I know that Uber and Lyft are very, very popular. So I'm not even sure if cab drivers are still in business, but let's use the context of a cab driver for this problem. So here, a cab driver charges $5 a ride if it's less than 6 miles. He charges $5 plus 50 cents a mile for a ride that is greater than or equal to 5 miles. Okay. Here's the graph. Let's make sense out of the context. Let's use the graph and answer A through D. Beginning with part A, what is being measured along the y-axis? So we can hit 2 birds with 1 stone here. If we label this, this is the x-axis, and then this is the y-axis. So for the first part, we're trying to look for y. So the y-axis is going to be amount charged. The second part is going to be asking for x, and that's going to be number of miles. For part C, what does the labeled point 10-10 mean in the context of the story, and what is happening? So here, if we zoom in a little bit, 10-10 is this point right here. So what does that mean? Well, it means that after 10 miles, because again the x-axis is measuring miles, after 10 miles, we were charged a total of $10. So here the amount charged, we're under the assumption that we're using US currency, so dollars, cents, so $10 exactly. So let's go ahead and record that here. So again, the point 1010 means that if you travel for 10 miles, you will have to pay the cab driver a total of $10. For part D, it says, what are the coordinates of the red open point on the graph? So what do we mean by open? Now here I'm going to have to zoom in. And once you zoom in, you can identify the open point. And by open, we mean this guy right here. So notice that these points are closed, and then this one's open. So here the open point 6 of 5. So let's go ahead and label that. And here you can see that here if we were traveling 6 miles, right, instead of getting charged the $5, we would get charged the $5 plus the 0.5 or the 50 cents per mile. So we can say that at this point is where we begin to get charged the 50 cents per mile. Or you can say that this is the point in which we start to get that additional charge. So let's record that here. And I recorded my interpretation here. That's the point where we begin to get the extra 50 cents per mile charge. So there you have it. You have 2 examples. Please refer to them. Hopefully you wrote them down. And sorry, I apologize. Here I made a small error. It should be 6 miles, not 5. Because at 6 miles, that's where we begin to get that 50 cent charge. So please work on the formative examples and refer to these problems.